Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of another episode review of the Real Housewives of Orange County, and this is season 19, episode 2, and this is called Old Faces, New Places. And child, I got a lot to say this episode. And as you know, you know how we do it. We don't go in order, but we're going to talk about the ladies one by one. And we're going to leave the return of Gretchen to the very end, because when I tell you Gretchen showed up and showed out, yes, I'm so glad she's back, because this thing that Tamara has going on, and you could tell on the show, is pretty easy to see that Tamara is back to her old BS of manipulating situations, doing alliances, trying to pretend it's not an alliance because a lot of the girls are scared of her. And Gretchen's like bringing that up right away, and I'm like, I am here for it. But yeah, without further ado, though, let's get into the episode, because a lot happened with this episode, and it was very good to watch. So before we get into it, let me actually rate it between the three housewives that are on right now. To me, Orange County is actually my favorite right now. It's cohesive. You have a balance of all the castmates. You have a couple different villains. You have go away villains, and the way I like to say that, for those who watch pro wrestling, you know, you want to have, like, if you're a heel or the bad guy, you want to have heat, but you don't want to have go away heat. For example, Larsa has heat because she's a villain on the Real Housewives of Miami. Julia has go away heat. We don't want to see her on her screen anymore. So that is why whenever I say go away, like, you don't want to be a go away villain. We're gonna say it that way. So in this case, in this episode, and I already been saying this, but like, not so much last season, but this season she's starting it, and I'm just kind of like, oh no. So Tamara has heat, but it's not really go away heat, because honestly, if Tamara wasn't on the show, it would kind of probably be a boring show. Truthfully, even though I can't stand her, it would be a boring show. Let's just call a thing a thing. And she's a vile, horrible human being. It just is what it is. But, you know, Larsa's kind of like that. But there's just something about her where it works and it's fine. Kind of, for the most part. It's just one of those things where you're just hoping that she gets her comeuppance, if you will. Now Gina, she's starting to get the go away for me. She's not really being a villain, but it's like she needs to find her own thing. Tamara at least has her own storyline through legacy of being on the show and doing the same thing she's been doing. What is your storyline, Gina? You have nothing going on. Even your best friend has something going on, and I'm actually very interested in her story. And it's actually nice to see, and even though it's an unfortunate situation, it is nice to see that we're seeing Emily's vulnerable side and not her silly and just angry for no reason side. I am glad we're actually seeing a new side of her, because she actually has some real life stuff going on. She actually has a storyline in real life now. Which that brings to another discussion, and I kind of want to say it very briefly, but then we'll get into the episode. Honestly and truthfully, I don't want these women to ever not be on the show. Like, I never want people to, like, you know, not have a job, for the most part. Like, there's exceptions. Like, for example, Julia, she can leave. But like, in general, if a person doesn't have a storyline, I think they should just be demoted to friend of. And then once they actually have something going on in their life, then put them back on this full time. I know that's not how it can normally go, but like, it just would be nice if they had that, because Gina, it's like, girl, was the reason. But we'll get more into it as we get into the episode. So first, let's talk about Shannon, actually. So Shannon, this episode, we do get more into her backstory. Well, there's a couple of things. So for one, Shannon, throughout this episode and even the episode before that, we see that she is supporting Katie, trying to be there for her, because, you know, Katie's a newbie, And unfortunately, as a newbie, she was too thirsty and made too many weird mistakes already. Like a lot of things that she was doing, has been doing on this outside the show. These are things that the housewives do when they're completely desperate, but they've been on the show for a long time, so you're not that surprised that they would do that. But it's just crazy that she's doing some of this kind of thirsty behavior from jump. And she's like not a good liar. Like she lies a lot and is not very good at it. And so, but as this is happening, Shannon's trying to keep things fair. She's trying to like, hey, you might have your grievances, but let's not make this a pile-on. Because it really was a pile-on. I hate the way they're trying to make it like it wasn't, but it was a pile-on. And so Shannon's like, I have your back. And of course, I am going to go to your hot pot thing. Even though I didn't say it right then and there, I'm going to go. And so that was one of the main things with Shannon with this episode. And then after that, the individual thing that we have with Shannon is Sophie, her, I think it's her oldest daughter. She's back in town staying at Shannon's house from New York. And we find out a lot. We find out Sophie broke up with her long-term boyfriend because she wants to be all about New York. She wants to fully embrace being single in the major city. I agree with that. I did the same thing. Once me and my relationship ended, I tried to stay single for a minute so I could just be outside. Because for those who don't know, before I moved to the city, I actually lived in the burbs of Chicago. And then when things ended, that's why I moved to the city. And I had me a time for when the time was had. I did. I definitely had a great time. So I totally get that, especially her being, career oriented. She has this awesome career in sports, we find out. And she's just living her best life in New York. Both her daughters are actually. So Shannon basically says, I'm living my life vicariously through them. And I'm not mad at that. Also, too, she kind of does go into it in this scene about dating and how she's not really interested in it right now, which finally, Shannon, I think this is finally, I'm glad she finally got it and realized this is a time where she really needs to focus on herself and get it together. Better late than never. I'm actually in that era right now of my life currently. I've been single now for going on 2 years. I've dated here and there, but I'm not even trying to date right now. This year, I went fully not dating. I tried to date a little bit in April, and then I was like, you know what? I'm only going to put my energy into if I feel like it really is going to last. And if it doesn't going to last, I'm just going to leave it alone. And so I've been kind of in that kind of bag for a while. So I totally understand where Shannon's coming from when it comes to that. So that's kind of the other thing that we get from that. And I do love the scenes with Shannon and her daughter because it seems like that's where Shannon is truly herself. The other thing that comes up in this episode is Shannon somehow, some way always ends up being people's storyline. And it's quite annoying, but it's a Tamara thing. This is what Tamara does. She makes it where other people or storylines so that we don't have to focus on what's really going on with her. It's her tactic she's been doing since the beginning of the show, and it's never changed. Like, it's old face. It's an old face. New location, but old face. I love that the episode is a double entendre. But anyway, so then one of the other things that comes up in this episode with Shannon, which is a major conflict and actually causes the divide of Shannon and Katie, is, and Tamara spills the beans and tells the ladies that when they were having like their cast photo, the photo that you have when they're posing, basically my intro photo, apparently Shannon was having a horrible day and was losing it on set. And this is not the first time we heard Shannon does this. Like, we heard about the things, like, for those who follow the stories outside the Housewives, we heard she kind of was somewhat difficult on the set of Love Hotel. So this is not the first time we've heard this kind of thing from Shannon. But apparently, Katie was so annoyed that she recorded it. She basically put a camera and recorded the whole entire thing and sent it to her husband, and then also told and sent it to Alexis. And at this time, this is still during the time when Shannon and Alexis were in the middle of a lawsuit against each other. So that is a violation. And so this is adding more to the kind of weird behind the back shady things that Katie's doing. And yeah. It will come up again, but this is the seed that's planted. And we'll talk more about it when we get to the hot pot event, because Katie's event is the event that leads to the BS. So anyway, that's what happens there with Shannon so far. Okay, let me be really brief about Gina. Gina does not have a storyline. Gina is taking on everyone's issues with Katie as if it's her own issues, even though she doesn't have anything that Katie has done to her directly at all. It's all been the only people that really should be piping up at this moment, prior to us finding out that Shannon was also like had some issues that happened with Katie, is Tamra and like Heather and Emily. Those are the three. And really, Heather was probably the only one initially where she should be going all in on her, but that was last season, and Heather already let that go. She's kind of actually the most mature one of everyone when it comes to this. Tamra happened after the fact, and then what basically with the Emily part of it, she escalated. And so basically at this point, Gina is taking on this beef as if it's hers, and she keeps trying to like thrust upon us that I introduced Katie to the group and I feel bad about it. And even though we're not dumb as veterans of watching the show, the producers chose you to introduce her to the group. Y'all are not friends. It would hit differently if they actually were friends and she was doing all this BS. We know that the producers chose her to be the one to introduce her to the group. And that's all that she has to do with it, actually. So the fact that Gina's taking this on as if like this is her thing, it's BS. Like she gets mad when she's talking to, because we have a scene at the very beginning of the episode where it's Emily, Tamra, and Gina, and they're at like this lactic release thing, like another fitness craze that Orange County has, and it looked interesting, but I don't know if I would do that, but neither here nor there. But they were at that, and then this is where all the stuff came out when it came to both the Tamra thing as well as Gina feeling away, and as well as Shannon being also violated and she don't even know it. So that's kind of where we're at with that. But honestly, Gina, you need to I'm getting really, really irritated with Gina. So that's all I got for Gina, because also too, she's the one who pipes up at the dinner, at the hot pot, and airs out the beans. And so Shannon and Katie, they were good until they weren't. But we'll get more into that when all that happens at the hot pot. But Gina, girl, you're doing too much. It's quite annoying. Okay, let's talk about Emily. So Emily actually has more of a valid reason to be upset with Katie. And also this is the other thing. When Gina was piping up about everything that was going on with Katie and all the things she's been doing, Gina even took on what Emily said about how she was irritated that Shannon was like basically speaking out for Katie at the retreat. And it's just like, you even took that, like that, honestly, all that should have been something that Emily was saying, and Gina didn't need to be here for when it came to any of this stuff. Gina is just like the plus one who's being the representative, and I just really wish they had someone on this show that could read a girl and just read her down, but like, pipe down, you're being the representative. Last time I checked, isn't Emily your attorney? She doesn't need you to represent her when it comes to like just going back and forth. I mean, let's be so for real. But anyway, back to the Emily of it all. Emily, outside of this thing that's going on with Katie, we find out she is struggling. And she did decide she is going to take Luke to get the full evaluation on his him his diagnosis of being autistic. And basically, Emily doesn't feel supported by Shane. Shane feels like he is being supportive, but he's being more supportive of like Luke and trying to keep normalcy there. But they're not on the same page. Like they're both in the correct book. They're trying to do the best they can, but they're not aligning on how they're handling things. Like Emily is being very emotional, and I think what Emily is wanting from Shane is she wants to see him be emotional about it as well. Still be supportive and say everything's going to be okay, but don't always combat it with everything's going to be okay. Because sometimes you just need to not feel okay. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to say this is really tough. I don't know if we're going to get through it. Like it's okay to kind of just sit with that thought. Don't let it fester. Don't let it, stay there forever, but sometimes you just need to have some of that before you can turn it around. You don't need someone sometimes immediately to say like, oh, everything's going to be okay. Because it could come off, especially if you're coming from an emotional place and an emotionally vulnerable place, it could come off as if you're brushing it off. And that's exactly how Emily's receiving it. She's receiving it as if Shane is brushing it off. And that's not what he's trying to do. I actually, when I saw this, this is probably the first time that I kind of felt like I actually am interested in seeing more of Emily's story because that like autism's a thing that it just impacts everyone. And I can't imagine having young children trying to navigate that. And I mean, I even have it in my family. Like I have a lot in my family actually on my dad's side. So it's just interesting to know what do you do. And also when it comes to his case, he also has an eating disorder, and his eating disorder is getting a lot worse where he's kind of becoming OCD about it. And she mentions the example of the French fries. So now I guess he's now putting like a flashlight and examining each French fry before he eats it, even though he knows he likes French fries. And the thing that's still scary about this at this whole entire time, as Emily's talking about it, and I know she's terrified. I hope, now that this is over with, hopefully she has resources and stuff that she needs. But it's scary that he already, kids are already picky eaters. Like, and I was a picky eater too when I was a kid. Like, I did not eat anything really nutritional with good nutritional value as a kid. And it was one of those things where I was one of those people where like my parents were like, okay, if you're not gonna eat this, you're not gonna eat. I just wouldn't eat. I kind of was a little bit like Luke to a certain degree. Not as bad, but like looking back, especially now that I have my relationship with food and some of like my things that are kind of like along the lines of the eating disorder, I was looking back, I'm like, yeah, I've always had a weird relationship with food. Now I have probably the most healthiest relationship with food I've ever had. But when I was younger, I did not have a great relationship with food. Like I would starve myself. And that's actually how I became like obese, like normally, like almost morbidly obese because I just wouldn't eat. Like, for girls, the opposite effect can happen. Like it can make you bigger. And I would just like binge once I would eat though. So not to spill all my tea, but I just can relate to a lot of like Emily's stories. So out of everything on this show so far, I'm actually way more interested in what's going on with Emily, and I never thought I would say that. But anyway, let's move on. All right, so then this episode with Heather really didn't have any individual scenes. She did have a scene where she ended up going to Tamara's house to kind of talk and just discuss everything that's going on with Tamara. And then also let her know, like, hey, Gretchen is coming to certain things. Like, basically soft launching Gretchen's return to Tamara, because we know that Heather's been championing Gretchen to come back for like 3 seasons now. So I'm glad that finally happens, because they the Tamra and Gretchen thing, you need someone who can actually really get Tamra together. Jen is starting to, but she's still a little too new. You need someone who could really read her down, and Gretchen is her. And so they're introducing that, and Tamra is just saying all these negative things about Gretchen, but yet trying to sound like she's so above it, trying to sound like Gretchen's the one who always have her name in her mouth, when it's like, look in the mirror, friend. Y'all kind of like, and really Tamra's been doing more of it than Gretchen, because Gretchen has been outside of the public for years, for about 12 years. She really just started popping up last season, really after like Jen was like, SOS Tamra, and she's like, I'm on it. And then that's when, and the rest is history. Now we got her, and I'm so glad. But not me turning Heather's thing into Gretchen's thing. You can tell I'm excited. But anyway, so Heather does show up at Tamra's house, and apparently something happened with Tamra's kitchen. I feel like something happened with Tamra's kitchen last season too, but it was at the Big Bear house. But anyway, similar things happening again, and they're tearing up the floors, trying to get it repaired while she's like upstairs in a different part of the house, just, I guess relaxing in her pajamas. And Heather comes there, gets her some like fast food and some champagne. And I will be so honest with you. As soon as I saw that scene, why did I order some vegan fast food? I was like, you know what? I'm recording this on a Friday, and I've been working out very well. Like July, when it comes to my fitness, sorry, I'm long-winded. You already know this. July, when it comes to my health and fitness, I've been really on it. I've been like, my muscles and stuff are sore, so I've been doing the things. I've also already lost 6 pounds. So let's get it. We're getting back to where we need to be from before. So I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and order me some food. Like as soon as I saw that, I ordered some like fast food. Vegan fast food, but it was still fast food. Like it doesn't make it much better. I mean, it's still the same thing. This is my weird delusional way of trying to be healthy. But anyway, so I did that as soon as I saw that. I was like, yep, I'm going to have me some rosé and fast food. So I'm basically going to do the same thing. But I just had to like put that out there. But that's pretty much the only thing that Heather and Tamra go and talk about. But then later on in the episode, Heather does have her 2 cents when Gretchen and Tamra go back and forth, because child, you knew it was going to happen like immediately, and it literally did. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. But speaking of the devil, let's go ahead and get into her. Gretchen is making her return. So we saw that Gretchen in this episode, she did have a scene, like a cut scene with Heather. And then that was kind of the soft introduction to Gretchen. But the actual introduction was, and let's also just put Jen into this too, because she basically is acting as Jen's friend in this season and her ally. Because child, the newbies, and Jen needs an ally. Because everyone is so scared of Tamra. They need and Jen isn't playing the games anymore. She's like, I need someone that has my back. And so Gretchen shows up with, I forgot who her partner's name is, but the guy she's been with the whole entire time. Like they basically are on their Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Like they have a child together. They're not getting married, and they're happy with that. And actually, you know what? I respect it. If it works for you, it works for you. But anyway, they're together, and they show up at Ryan and Jen's event, and then Katie and Matt show up too. And in this scene, Jen shares that, well, really, actually, Katie's the one who shares that Matt, was scared to meet up with Ryan because of, the allegations that Ryan's best friend had going on. She was trying to stay far away from him. But then once all that passed over, he really got to know him. They're all cool. So they're all just hanging out, having a good time. And then the subject about how the girls are ganging up on Katie pops up. And Gretchen, is just like, look, if I had money for how many times people that are new, reach out to me and ask how to deal with Tamra, I would be making really, really good money. I was like, I bet you do, because you're one of the only ones that could check her. And anyway, and so basically, I forgot what I was going to say here. So Gretchen also shares some sound advice, like the things that they're accusing Katie of, a lot of the other women have done before. Doesn't make it okay, but a lot of the other women have done it before. Like, it's not really that serious. Even Heather kind of had Katie's back a little bit, and not to move ahead, during the hot pot, saying like, okay, but we've all done some things that wasn't really okay. Why are we still like harping on it? Basically, it was a very subtle, passive aggressive way of saying, Gina, move the hell on. Like, find something else to like put your teeth into. And I'm so glad. You know what? I kind of want someone to check Gina so badly. I know this is not related, but I really want someone to check Gina because she's getting on my nerves. But anyway, more than Tamra, ironically, and I don't know how that happens. Even though Tamra's doing, maybe because I'm used to Tamra, and I just like kind of just like, oh, Tamra's being Tamra. Okay, whatever. But anyway, so Gretchen is talking to the ladies. So basically, Kate and Jen about what's going on, and just say, hey, it's all good. I'll show up. Like, so basically Gretchen's coming to the hot pot. We find out she's come to the hot pot. And also they kind of all then start talking about Tamra and how she's never going to change. She's trying to act like she's different, but child, she's never going to change. And I love how like Ryan had that ablet of facts. I'm like, yep. What's weird is, honestly, I always have my good eye on Ryan. Like, I don't know about him, but the more and more them two are together, the more I'm kind of starting to get sold on it. So I see Jen Y. I see it. I don't trust him all the way, but I see it. I understand it. Because he does, it seems like he does when it comes to the Tamra situation. He's like, I'm not having it anymore. Like, I love that they're finally just like, we're not going to even try to pretend to be cool. And Gretchen was like, so what happened when y'all tried to talk at the event? And Tamra was trying to start something, but I wouldn't do it. And I was like, and they show like a scene that we didn't see, an uncut scene from last episode where Tamra was trying it. And basically, I love how the producers are proving that Tamra hasn't changed at all, even though she's trying to pretend that she's changed. It's like, girl, you have not changed. And 2 therapy sessions is not going to change you to a different person. And I don't know who told Tamra's delusional self that that's how that works, but that's totally not how that works. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of what happens here. And then fast forward to the event once they get to the hot pot, and after they get done piling on the Katie thing, and that gets done, Tamra and Gretchen just start going back and forth, and they were just, it was like seeing the two greats going back and forth, but Gretchen was not having it. And I love that there wasn't that many people that could really, it was just like, they're both just like looking back and forth. And even though I feel like it's very cowardly that these women are scared of Tamra, I at least respect that Emily basically just straight up said, I'm scared of Tamra. She pretty much said without saying in this episode, she's like, I tried to be cool with Gretchen and it was the wrong move. I'll never make that mistake again. And it wasn't even that Gretchen did anything. It was just more or less like, yeah, this woman's evil, so I'm just going to go on that side. I'm just like, child, at least you admit it. But anyway, as of this moment, Gretchen and Tamra, are they going to be able to let bygones be bygones? So far, the answer is no. Gretchen, just don't trust that lady. And Tamra, forever the person who tries to flip narratives, is trying to pretend that Gretchen's the one who has been attacking her throughout all the years, when we know Pepperidge Farm Remembers is not that. Pepperidge Farm Remembers is that Gretchen, basically when Tamara went low, Gretchen would go lower. Gretchen was just someone who knew how to match energy, and Tamara is a type of person who don't know how to handle people who will match energy. She can't take it. She basically is a bully. And we all know that about Tamara. Tamara's a bully. So, side note, speaking of bully, I am going to kind of give Tamara the bully treatment because I was talking about Gretchen and how they went back and forth. I feel like that's good enough to talk about her. I don't really need to talk anything else about Tamara at this moment. Other than that, Tamara is trying to flip the narrative. There's clearly an alliance, and there's clearly something going on where I honestly, with this last thing, about the Katie situation, it's messed up that Katie keeps doing these things that she does because it's so weird, but it was enough where they basically, we see in the preview, it was enough for Shannon to flip on her. And I get why, because you're playing around with like people's lives where like lawsuits can become involved. And it's happened at least when it comes to the Katie situation like 3 times. So there's no way of defending Katie's situation. Anyway, let's move on to talk about Katie actually. So basically Katie feels she's basically being kind of a Karen when it comes to this whole entire thing, playing off as a victim, which is kind of ironic because Katie is in a room full of other people who do the same thing, like Tamara and the more veteran housewives. The difference is Tamara's better at lying. Like Katie's a terrible liar, and but what ends up happening at this hot pot, and what we didn't know until after like Gina kept trying to yell at this lady, because Gina was literally yelling at this lady while everyone else was talking in normal voice. And I think Shannon was like, "We're not yelling. Why are we yelling?" And basically Tamara admitted, like, no, Katie actually reached out to me and apologized, owned up to the whole entire thing and apologized. So Tamara wasn't really mad at Katie anymore. She's like, we already talked it out. We're good. She owned up to it, and that's all I wanted. And then eventually same thing happened with... So, okay, sorry. I had to go get my food real quick. But, oh yeah. So basically Tamara is good with Katie. And then eventually Gina and Katie also apologizes to Gina. And Emily owns up to her mistakes and says, hey, I'm sorry. And honestly, they're good for now. But the problem is Katie's really not out of the woods now, because now she has a new issue with Shannon. Because Shannon didn't know that this happened, that Katie did this behind her back. And so now Shannon, after she steps away from the table to get herself together so she wouldn't lose it, she basically is like, okay, I'm back at this table, but I'm done for today. I can't really be okay right now. So I'm going to excuse myself out of the situation and leave. So she left. So then after that, that's when we had the issues and with basically Tamara and Gretchen. But yeah, overall, this was a really good episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very good season. I saw the previews for next episode, and it definitely looks like Shannon and Katie are not going to be good now. And the other thing that has been odd too that happened this episode, besides that, was... So initially, before Katie owned up to doing what she did, she tried to throw Jen under the bus and said Jen was there as well. And Jen was like, I was not there for this. Don't even do this. No. And how many of y'all believe this? Because it's the second time where Katie has done that. This is the second time, if you notice, Katie likes to say she didn't do something alone. She always tries to say Jen did this with her. And Jen's like, no, I didn't. And even Jen in her confessional, she's like, I just really wish Katie would just fully own up to things and quit trying to drag me into this. Like, I would have no reason to do these things. And to Jen's credit, she really would have no reason. Like Tamara, yes, but the Jen situation with Tamara, she's not even being passive aggressive about it. She's aggressive about it. Jen don't F with her, and she's made it very clear. And other thing, outside of this, that I should mention that Tamara tried to do. She tried to say that that Tamara wants her life, and I'm like, that is so not true. And I'm like, this is not it. And yeah, I don't understand why she said that. She was trying to like say that Jen's doing this now, she's doing that now. And this happened when she was talking to Heather, when Heather was at her house. And Heather doesn't believe Tamara, thank God. And also too, we see this before a picture of Jen where Jen was a little bit heavier. But to me, I bet that was her before she, she has a lot of kids, including younger kids. So that probably was freshly after she had a child. So I'm quite irritated by that. And the other thing that Tamara tried to make a thing happen was trying to say that Jen has changed so much. And the only thing that's different is she has some fillers in her lips because she had more thinner lips. But her fillers don't even look that bad. They actually are probably a nice balance of fillers. So it's just like, I don't know what Tamara's trying to get at, but like, girl, no one believes you. So just leave it alone. No one wants to be you. No one wants to be you. You tried to say this. The ironic thing is years and years ago, she tried to say the same thing about Gretchen. Because Tamara's big thing especially back in the day, was she had to be the hottest blonde of all. She's like, I'm the hottest blonde of all OC. So she took that so seriously. So when Gretchen came to the scene and she was hotter, she had a problem with her. Same thing with Alexis Bellino. Anyone else blonde, she had a problem with. Especially if they, basically was competition for her. I'm using air quotes, looks wise. See, here I go. I still end up talking about Tamara, even though I didn't want to talk about her. But I just forgot to mention that part happened in the episode as well. But anyway, that does conclude this review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I enjoyed this episode. But yeah, I will be back on camera next week because I'm planning on doing my hair tonight after I have some junk food and rosé. But anyway, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. And I will see you next time. Bye.